on 1089 and 1053 medium wave, on DAB, online and on your smart speaker.
An early morning special delivery of sizzling sports news.
Superb.
TalkSport. Early breakfast with Shebahn Aherne.
Morning, happy hump day. Welcome along to Early Breakfast on TalkSport. We're building up to TalkSport Breakfast back this morning with Alan Brazil and Ali McCoist at 6 o'clock. Coming up for you here over the next hour though, Newcastle take a huge step towards a second Carabao Cup final in 3 seasons with quite a remarkable 2-0 first leg win at the Emirates last night. Geordies, is this finally the year that long trophy drought comes to an end? Arsenal fans, do all shortcomings ultimately come down to the lack of a prolific centre forward? That seems to be the conversation from the fallout of last night's game. You can have that chat with me, 03717 223344. We'll build up to the FA Cup third round action tonight, and also Spurs against Liverpool will be live for you here on TalkSport. Morning. How are you getting on today? It's Baltic outside. Maybe the coldest yet. Came out the house, you know, that way the ants are taking pictures. The ground's glittering. And you're like, oh my God, it's sharping. Absolutely freezing. Thank you to Tom, who had the heating blasting for me this morning for getting in the cab, which makes things that little bit nicer. I hope you're doing okay. Looking at the back pages for you today, lots of focus on Newcastle, what form they are in. Back page of the TalkSport. Lethal Isak punishes slack Arsenal is their headline. The Sun going for Geordie roar. Isak and Gordon put heat on Mikel Arteta. Same again in the Telegraph. Away the lads. Back page of the Daily Mail, they're going for Flash Gordon has Toon in Dreamland. And the Mirror going for Toon have 1 foot in the final. Really impressive from them last night, especially then in 4 weeks' time to get to St James's Park. Hopefully they can make their way to a final. It would be good to see it for them again. It would be brilliant progress, wouldn't it, for Eddie Howe and for the Toon Army. Also a lot of focus on Elon Musk back pages today. I don't know if you've heard this. He was on Times, not Elon Musk, Elon Musk's dad, Errol, was on Times Radio very recently and had spoken about Musk wanting to buy Liverpool Football Club. It's believed that Liverpool aren't interested in selling to Elon Musk. That's fine. He's absolutely minted. He's got 330 billion, so you know he'll be okay. But his mum's from Liverpool. Apparently there's a bit of a love affair with the city. So perhaps maybe you never know. Musk wants to buy Liverpool. As the back page of the Mirror. It's also back page of the Times. Liverpool snub Musk interest. There's a piece back page of the Times by Charlotte Dunker. Manchester City chasing £50 million forward. His name is Omar Mamouche from Eintracht Frankfurt. He's second to Harry Kane in terms of goals scored in the Bundesliga. 13 goals and 7 assists already this season. And Manchester United fans, in terms of the January transfer window, Charlotte Dunker also reporting in the Times that United would be open to selling Kobbie Mainoo and possibly Alejandro Garnacho to aid the financial situation there. We'll get into all the details of the back pages for you very soon. Nick will be back with us in about 15 minutes time. Also, I don't know if you've seen the story about Matheus Cunha from Wolves, that scuffle he had at the end of that game just before Christmas when he took the glasses off the security guard's face in a heated moment. He's written a letter sincerely apologising and offered to buy the security guard new glasses, and it was taken very sincerely to the point that the 120 grand fine that he was facing has been reduced to £80,000. So new specs, bit of a discount then for Cunha, and your security guard gets a nice expensive pair of glasses, I would imagine, and he deserves that. That was shady from Cunha, pulling off his glasses. He shouldn't have done that, but he's putting it right, and it got me thinking about the things you've had to pay to replace, because I'm currently in a conversation with a white van man whose wing mirror I took off very recently. 275 quid it's costing me to replace this wing mirror. It's one of those electric fold ones. Yeah, I'm a terrible driver, but anyway, I'm going to pay to replace it, £275. You can let me know what you've had to pay to replace for someone else recently, if you've had to do anything like that. 81089 is the text number. But let's get to last night, shall we? Newcastle have 1 foot in the Carabao Cup final after a second impressive victory in North London in the space of 4 days. It was live for you here, of course, on TalkSport.
Arsenal haven't won it for more than 30 years and look to add a fresh silver coating to the vast improvement of the Arteta reign. And Martinelli's pace has got him goal side of Botman, and he's hit the post.
There's the chances that Arsenal should be taking.
He was free, he was quick, real counter-attack threat.
Edge of the box flicked on Densley. Isak! 1-0.
This wasn't on their script.
The first goal they'd ever scored against Arsenal in the League Cup.
There's not many players will make Saliba look average at times in the game, but that's what's happened.
We have to produce more, that's it. So that's not enough, you have to do more.
Across the face of goal and bundled in for 2-0. Anthony Gordon.
We get around the final third, punishing teams, that's when we're at our best.
You could see that glaringly that Isak was everything, really, wasn't he? That Havertz wasn't tonight.
And it is a famous win. Arsenal simply couldn't break them down, and they need a miracle if they're going to go through to the final.
Here we go. Let's go. Mental. Yes, that'll get you in about Wednesday. Sharp and early, won't it? Let's talk about the game last night. A lot of trends online this morning about Arsenal needing a centre forward. Of course they do, and that game proves it last night. Squandered a number of chances either side, and between 2 clinical goals from Isak and Anthony Gordon for Newcastle. The Gunners now have it all to do in the second leg. By the way, that's the 5th of February. No less than 7 games from now across the FA Cup, the Prem and the Champions League to get underway for Arsenal before then. Of course, no Bukayo Saka, no star boy. It's a bit of a problem for them. Plenty of Arsenal reaction to get stuck into, but first let's hear from Newcastle boss Eddie Howe, who told TalkSport's Adrian Durham of his pride of the boys last night.
Lost our striker, Alex was just feeling his hamstring slightly, so we had to withdraw him, and then Anthony had taken a couple of knocks against Tottenham, so we had to look after him. So yeah, we went into the territory where we had to really dig deep, and Arsenal were coming strong at us, set plays, crosses. I thought there was some heroic bits of defending in there, so we were just pleased to protect our lead, and then we'll put this game to bed and concentrate on the FA Cup.
Fair play, Eddie Howe. Brilliant form for Newcastle. It would be great to see them get to another final. In my head, I would love it if it's a Spurs-Newcastle final. I just think either one of them to get a trophy is good for football. Anyway, that's maybe the nicest thing I've said all day. Meanwhile, scorer of the Toon's second goal, Anthony Gordon, was asked whether this is the biggest win of Eddie Howe's era so far.
Good question. I'll let them say that. I can remember some top ones off the top of my mind, but I think for them it'll be, we haven't won too many at the Emirates. How much did they really believe we were going to win today? I don't know. So I think it was a sort of surprise result, and that's why they'll enjoy it even more. Yeah, great result, and all to do then for Arsenal as they head to St James's Park in 4 weeks' time. But are Newcastle now on the road to something special? You've got to give huge credit to Eddie Howe. It was tough, wasn't it, last season because of the injuries that they had, but brilliant performance for them again last night. And fingers crossed they will make it to a final without spending any additional money, by the way. Lewis Hall was the only significant summer signing and was on loan there last season anyway. But let's talk about Arsenal. Arsenal fans today, you waking up going, this is why we need a striker. This is why. Mikel Arteta spoke to Adrian and asked whether Newcastle's cutting edge was the ultimate difference last night.
They certainly done that part of the game, which is the one that decides the game, better than that, because on any other ones, obviously, we were the better side, but I think we lost the game. Very good team. They are really well coached. They have great individuals. I mean, for the situation they generated to score 2 goals like they've done, credit to them. They're in a good moment right now, but again, it's half time, and we know what we have done against them today, and I fully believe that we can do it.
I was going to ask you, are injuries catching up with you a little bit? Was that reflected tonight?
No, I don't think so. If not, you don't perform the way we did.
So you're happy with that, even though you couldn't make the breakthrough? So what was it about that you couldn't make that breakthrough?
You have to put the ball in the net. At 0-0, we have an open chance, the biggest chance in the game. You have to make that count. We have 3 headers, 1 meter away from the goal. We put him. I mean, that's football.
They just weren't clinical, were they, last night? They did have their chances and not to be. let's talk about the ball, shall we? It's trending on social media today. Arsenal only hit the target with 3 of their 23 shots on goal. And a lot of people discussing whether it comes down to the Carabao Cup ball. Here's Arteta being quizzed on that in the press conference.
You're not the first manager to mention the ball in this competition. I know it's not an excuse, but what is the issue with it?
No, it's just different. It's just different, very different to a Premier League ball, and you have to adapt to that because it flies different. When you touch it, the grip is very different as well. So you adapt to that.
Right, somebody get me the ball. And then you see this ball. What's so different about this ball? Is it's got different air inside it? Special air? What's the grip? How does it? I don't know. I'm going to have to see the ball. I'm going to have to feel the ball to have any idea what this ball chat's all about. Seriously, if you know anything about this ball, then let me know. It's not a tennis ball, is it? It's not a rugby ball. Not losing my mind, and it was no problem for Gordon or Isak last night, but, Arsenal fans, feel free to defend Mikel Arteta on that. 03717 223344. Do you care, by the way, Arsenal fans, about the Carabao Cup, or should you never turn your nose up to any sort of silverware? 2004 invincible Martin Keown was on commentary duty last night and said again why Arsenal need a striker.
This is a major body blow, and it's one of those where, we talked at the start of the game, if he doesn't get what he wants, he'll keep striving for new players. It may accelerate the need to bring somebody in January. Havertz was out with sickness, bug, whatever, for the last 2 games, didn't look himself at all. So that's an area where you could see the glaringly, Isak was everything really, wasn't he? That Havertz wasn't tonight. I know he's a different type of player. He had a great opportunity, came off his shoulder, then he ghosted into the box. The fact that Arsenal haven't scored here tonight makes it really difficult now to progress in this tournament. They play Manchester United at the weekend. Look, it's a great tonic, Man United coming into town, but you would have expected to have got something from this tonight. So let's see how they're going to have to lift themselves. There's players in your career, it happened to us as a group, it's a massive bump in the road, this, and then we'll see the character come Sunday, who it is that really up for it. A lot of games in January for Arsenal, and it looks now like hard work for them to get through in this competition.
It does, and hopefully Arsenal fans, you can get somebody this window, a good striker this window that can help you along the way. Is any Arsenal fans this morning gutted about the loss? I mean, George, the moaning Arsenal fan in the office every morning, says he doesn't care. We don't care. We don't need it. Don't need a league cup. Blah, 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 blah. Are you devastated at the loss? 03717 223344. John the Gunner doesn't seem to be.
Yeah, I'm really pleased that we lost. We don't want to be in the Carrot Cake Cup.
What are you on about?
It's the Premier League and it's the Champions League.
What do you know about those two competitions? They won the Champions League ever.
Yeah, but we shouldn't even be in this cup. All we know from this match is we confirm we've got to buy a striker in January, and that's going to push us through to possibly go for the Premier League.
Okay, fair play. Listen, the phone lines are open. Arsenal fans, do you not care about this competition anyway? Do you need a centre forward? And Newcastle fans, is this the year? Is this the year that you're going to win silverware? All the way back since 1969, the last time you picked up a trophy. Can it be this time? I think you've got the cojones to get the job done. 03717 223344. 81089 is the text number if it's easy for you to send a wee message. Don't forget, Carabao Cup semi-final action continues tonight. Tottenham host Liverpool. Newcastle fans, can you win a trophy this season? You're already 1 foot in the final. Good morning to Derek, the Toon fan. Good morning, Derek. How are you doing?
I'm brilliant. I'm just ecstatic. It was just a great win. I would have took 1-0 defeat or a 2-1 defeat or a draw, but to win 2-0. When the second goal went in, I thought I was dreaming.
Isak, by the way, you must want to just kiss his face.
Sorry?
You must want to kiss Isak. No, too much?
No, he's been brilliant. Sometimes I look at that, I think he looks a bit on the right side for a striker. We've been used to a robust striker like Mickey Quinn or Mark McDonald way back, or even Alan Shearer, but he just does the business. He knows how to score goals. He's there, and his finishing's exceptional. We've got to keep him as much as we've got to keep Salah. We've got to keep Isak. He's been absolutely amazing.
Absolutely. Listen, Derek, can you win a trophy this season? Can you go all the way?
I'd love to, because I won a domestic trophy in my lifetime. Won the first cup in '69, and that's it. And I was talking about it at work, and he couldn't believe it to come out of stature. Maybe this could be the year, but early doors, and we've got to see Arsenal off in the next round, hopefully.
Good
and then
luck to
we'll
you.
be seeing the final and take it from there.
Absolutely. Listen, mate, thank you so much for calling this morning. We do appreciate it. Keep the happiness, keep the positivity. 03717223344. We can take a look now at today's back pages. Nick Ellerby is with us. Good morning.
Morning, Shebahn. You all right?
Yeah, mate, I'm good. Can't complain. I enjoyed the game last night.
Yeah, another cracker. Isak on fire, isn't he?
Just doesn't stop.
I think showing the Gunners what they're missing at the moment.
That was I think the top trend last night, wasn't it? Whilst the game has been played after the goal, we were even talking about it yesterday before the game. Like, Isak will show Arsenal what they're missing. They need a centre forward. They're going to have to get a big handful in. Something, get them 15 goals or even 10 goals between now and the end of the season. Could make a huge difference.
Havertz's like point blank header that just came off his shoulder. What a nightmare! I
could have done that. I could have finished that off nicely.
I reckon you could have done.
Cheers, Nick.
I've seen you leap at the back post.
Oh yeah, you know me, that big salmon out of water.
Good morning, 5 minutes after 6 o'clock. Great start today. I've just won 20 quid. They're all saying Ali wouldn't turn up, the weather's too cold, the runway's blocked. He's here, let me tell you.
You know me, my old son.
And he's produced the old chocolate chip walkers as well.
Courtesy of my old goalkeeping friend, Nicholas.
Get in there.
How are you, pal?
I'm good. Good.
Did you watch that last night?
I did, yes, I did.
I'm going to tell you something. Isak was absolutely... That's how a centre forward plays that position. Honestly, I thought he was different class, Al.
He's got a bit of strength about him as well, hasn't he?
Aye.
You know, he's in your face as well. So
he's got a lovely touch. His movement is a different level. Fantastic. I mean, he posed those two as big a problem I've seen any centre forward pose them. Thought he was superb. And I'm going to throw another two at you. Two fullbacks.
Yes. And without a doubt.
Livramento, I thought, played hell of a well.
Yeah.
But I thought Lewis Hall on the other side was different class.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, I really enjoyed the game. And to be fair to Eddie, he brings on the big centre back, goes 5 at the back.
Why wouldn't you?
Takes the centre out. It didn't even. There was unashamedly played without a centre forward when Isak went off. Just went 2 banks of 5.
Semi-final.
Yeah, quite right.
Yeah, absolutely.
2 banks of 5.
Yeah,
that was impressive.
Well, do you know, right away springs to mind who should do that when they have a lead is Ange at Spurs.
Yeah,
he doesn't do that, does he? When Tottenham are ahead, he doesn't. You know, he doesn't think, okay, we're going to win this. We want 3 points. He wants to get another goal.
I was wondering how I couldn't hear you.
Well, I could see you straining a wee bit, and I thought, well, he's not been on for a week with me. Oh dear. He was never any good at, physics, chemistry.
That's it, I've got you now.
Plug it in, you dope.
We're off and running. We're off and running now, pal. Have I got to plug that in?
No. Listen, Arsenal had chances, didn't they? But what a result for Newcastle.
Oh, tremendous result. They didn't show you. I mean, I kept showing you the fans, but it didn't show you just how many fans were there. I told you, Alan, was at Spurs in the... When was it, last Saturday? They had some support.
I think there was 6,000 there last night.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's some result for them. It really is.
I know.
But the only thing I would say is, not sure it's finished yet.
Yeah, well, if Newcastle score, it's over.
Yeah.
If first goal's important, but you could see the Arsenal faces at the end of the game thinking,
I know.
Remember Neil Warnock coming on here and said, nah, because we're talking about winning the Premier. Arsenal, he said, he doesn't think Arteta's got it in him. And I thought, ooh, that's a bit harsh. It might be proved right. I don't know. Well, because they had chances.
Oh, they had chances last night. Martinelli, to be fair, Martinelli's unlucky. Is that the one he hits the post? Yeah. Remember, he's unlucky with that one. Goalkeeper made a couple of good saves and a couple of great blocks.
I missed the Havertz one. I missed that because I was driving up, unloading my car.
I thought he probably should have scored. It was maybe a little bit behind them, but no, no problems. But they're on some run, Newcastle.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe another clean sheet. They kept about 5 and 6 clean sheets as well.
No, they've done well. Do you remember Alan Shearer having a pop? And don't get me wrong, Shearer, what a player.
Oh, mind, they were terrible.
I know.
But since was it Brentford?
Yeah, and since then.
They were terrible, Brentford. Yeah. But since then, they've not put a foot wrong. Eddie, and I'm pleased for Eddie Howe. I really like Eddie Howe.
So last night, Arsenal against Newcastle, the Carabao Cup semi-final first leg, and it's advantage Newcastle. They took a 2-0 lead away from the Emirates last night. This was Eddie post-match.
We all have to enjoy when you win, but of course in this moment it's slightly different because there's another game, obviously a long time away really, which is quite unusual, but we know Arsenal's quality, and we know that the game is far from over. We have to do all the same things that we did tonight, and even better to get through in the tie.
Danny, he thinks it's far from over. Someone was messaging me last night close to the club saying there's a bit of work to do yet. What's your take on it? Do you say it is seriously advantaged Newcastle?
Yeah, I do. I think it was a hell of a result for them. And when you think of Newcastle playing at home, especially recently, but generally, they tend to score. They tend to have chances. The crowd gets behind them. They play on the front foot. So if they score 1, Arsenal have got to get 3 just to be level. So it's a great position for them. And there's no way Eddie's team are going to go like what they did in the last 20 minutes last night. Not at home.
Yeah.
They'll go for Arsenal. So 4 weeks, what is it? 3 weeks away, 4 weeks away. It's a long time change.
Yeah, month away.
Momentum can shift.
Yeah.
Players come back, etc. Some players maybe get injured, but they are one hand on the final for sure.
Now, as for you, I saw you on Twitter last night having a pop at Keown. You went full Bart Simpson, didn't you?
I did.
Eat my shorts.
I did.
Martin Keown.
Because Martin's so objective and balanced in his view. And you never know where Martin stands on Arsenal. You know, you always see Martin being very balanced about it. So, as I said on Monday when he was here, I was hoping that Newcastle would dump them out on their backsides. My ideal final, because for reasons that are for the involvement of football, I'd like to see a Newcastle-Tottenham final. I don't want to see Liverpool winning the League Cup, and I don't want to see Arsenal winning it. I want to see one of the other sides that hasn't won anything being able to get those monkeys off their back and give them an opportunity. So I'm thrilled for Newcastle, but I think this tie is a long way from being done. I think they will not get a better opportunity. If you'd have asked them to write their perfect script, it would have been 2 or 3-0 coming back from Arsenal.
Yeah. So they wouldn't have ever.
That wouldn't have been in their mindset. But they've got it now, and they're going to St James's Park. They'll not get a better opportunity. They'll have a rabid fan base that's demanding and cajoling and persuading and supporting them. 6,000 fans
under the lights.
6,000 fans at the Emirates last night. Brilliant football fans. So I'm delighted for them. But Arsenal are perfectly capable, in the same way that Newcastle went to Arsenal and beat them 2-0. Arsenal are perfectly capable of going up to St James's Park in the same way that Liverpool did it to Barcelona, and other teams have done it in the past when you haven't expected them to do it.
I don't know if they are without Saka, though.
Maybe.
I don't know if they are without Saka. He's so important to
them. But I would be surprised now. It's Newcastle's opportunity to lose. They are in a great situation. They will score at St James's Park. They will have a fervent fan base. They'll have a pressure cooker of an environment for both themselves and the opposition, and I'm really pleased for Eddie.
Yeah, they've got Jim, a really nice balance. Newcastle at the moment. The last 3 games they've played Spurs, United, and Arsenal, and in each one of those starts of all those games, when they've gone in the lead, they've gone after the 3. They went after United, they went after Spurs, and they've gone after Arsenal early on.
Yeah,
showed great tenacity, energy, athleticism, the lovely balance in midfield. I thought Willett come in and did a great job for Bruno. He's got them at it. They look fit. They look hungry.
But Danny, Alexander Isak, did he show Arsenal last night exactly what they're missing? If the chance fell to him that fell to Havertz, that's in the back of the net.
Well, at the moment, yeah, you could say that. I understand the comparison. Yeah, is Arsenal? Are Arsenal going to be a better team if Isak at his best is playing for Arsenal? Yes, there's a good, strong argument for that. But there's also so much more to it. So one of Arsenal's strengths over the last season or 2 has been their collective, not the individual. And whether that's Havertz, Jesus, whoever's been playing up top, their work ethic, their press, their durability. They don't miss, like Havertz very rarely misses games. He's a workaholic. He does so many other good things. He comes in and links up. He drops off. He's good in the air in both boxes. Yeah. So you lose those bits if you swap him for someone else. So I get it. Yes, Arsenal could do with an Isak type. Yes, they could. It would make them better.
I mean, I was up at St James's Park, Simon, when Newcastle beat Arsenal, and Graham Jones, who works with Eddie, was saying, I constantly say Isak, get in the box, get in the box. Now, you'd see last night, the first person that Isak was joined by on the pitch after the 90-minute, Graham.
Fantastic.
Saying, well done.
They build the relationships. I think Isak is a really good player, but this narrative that's being spun out there that he is the next Henry is beyond me.
Who said that?
He is a mile off Henry. He is not in the same class as Henry. He's a good player. He's doing very well, and he's very good for Newcastle. Yeah. But this idea that somehow, I listened to someone this morning. I think it was Lee Clark on the Breakfast Show, suggesting that ultimately he is the next version of Thierry Henry. You're miles off.
Crazy.
Miles off. He couldn't lace Henry's boots.
Maybe the problem for Arsenal last night was the ball. Talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
Danny, I could hardly believe my ears, really, when I heard this, and I thought of you joining us this morning. A different ball? Really? Are the balls in football all that different? Apparently last night, Mikel Arteta introduced this into the conversation, because in the Carabao Cup, And it was the Carabao Cup semi-final first leg against Newcastle last night. A Puma ball is used, whereas in the Premier League, a Nike ball is used. And Arteta leapt in that.
I think we kicked a lot of the balls over the bar, and it's tricky that this ball flies a lot, and we discussed that as well. So there are details that we can do better, but at the end, that's gone. This is no way back. It's about the next game, and that's our world. The reality is our world. It's just different, very different to the Premier League ball, and you have to adapt to that because it flies different. When you touch it, the grip is very different as well. So you adapt to that.
Well, he and Arsenal better get used to it because I'm reliably informed, Danny, a Puma ball is going to be used in the Premier League next season. So here's the thing, get your head around that. Danny, footballs. Would it not be the case that in the build-up to this game against Newcastle last night, and correct me if I'm wrong, Arsenal would be training with a Puma ball?
That's what normally happens, yeah. For years, since I played, every competition tends to have different balls, different sponsors. You get used to. I remember the UEFA Cup balls being really unusual, so we trained with them for days before.
As in not round?
No, just different, fly different. I think they were Umbro balls back then, but
yeah.
So it's not something new. I mean, it was all right when they beat Palace in the last round. The balls were fine then, and the rounds before. I don't think Arteta brought it up. I think he was asked a question, to be fair to him, but I am amazed how he dealt with it. He's been in management a long time of a big club. The one thing you don't do is make stupid excuses and blame things that aren't actually relevant.
It flies different when you touch it. The grip is very different.
You're talking about some of the most technically gifted footballers in Europe who have been training with the ball and playing in games already this season with that ball when Jesus got a hat-trick.
So is that why Havertz headed it with his shoulder, not his head?
Exactly. That's a great point. Martinelli flew lovely when he bent it round the keeper and hit the post. Is it the ball's fault he hit the post? Or is it Martinelli's for not having the composure to put it in the net and make go 1-0? I'm amazed because he's an articulate man, Arteta, and I think this season he's calmer than he's been in others. And actually, I think he'll be looking back this morning and thinking, should have dealt with that better. I always refer to the Houllier Liverpool and the education he gave me and us as a group. And the one thing he was adamant on, and his strongest consistent message was, we're not going into, we're not having blame here. There's no blame culture here.
Never.
In your own walls, maybe.
Right.
You can come in and blame the ref and whatever, but no. Let's look at ourselves.
Yeah.
Could we have done better? Arsenal made some good chances, set plays especially. Didn't put them away. On another day, they might have scored a couple. Take it on the chin. You got another game to go, but don't start blaming the ball, because the biggest problem he's got by blaming the ball or making those comments is the Arsenal fans.
Yeah.
Not other people. He won't care what me and you say, or Newcastle fans, but you'll have Arsenal fans now who are a bit annoyed. I know they've got bigger fish to fry, if you like, this season with bigger competitions they think they can win. But Arsenal fans will be listening to their manager last night and talking about that this morning. And that's not a good thing.
I'm totally with Danny on it, and I love the way he's described it. It was good enough when they beat Palace.
Yeah.
I mean, I
think it's a lapse in judgment, that's all.
Yeah.
He's been asked a question, he should have just gone, we lost the game. Let's move on.
Nothing to do with the ball.
Nothing to do with it. And have his own private thoughts about whether they dealt with the technicality of a different ball. I mean, I think it's just a moment in time. I think Danny's probably right. I don't know whether they've got bigger fish to fry, because when you're in a cup semi-final, you're in it to win it.
You are. But I think the fans' perception is that Champions League and Premier League is where they want to be.
Yeah,
the League Cup is a consolation.
Of course.
So if they only win the League Cup this season, the question mark will come over Arteta at the end of the season.
Yeah. And if they won the League Cup as opposed to winning nothing, then he'll have at least something to grasp onto.
But the thing that gets me, Jim, let me just... When you talk about detail, attention to detail, those balls...
Yeah.
Arteta is the type of manager that has pickpockets in a restaurant when he takes the players out for a meal to teach them a lesson.
Yeah.
He has You'll Never Walk Alone on speakers around the training ground to get them ready for Liverpool. But he's forgotten to train with the Bulls a couple of days before. Come on.
That's a great point.
Yeah,
the question I was going to put to you, Simon, as Eddie's project is reinvigorated, and it undoubtedly is Arteta's in danger of fizzling out? Again, not for the first time.
We have this fencing match with Martin, don't we, about what Arsenal are and where they're going.
Yeah.
And of course, it ends up in whataboutery, because it departs into what someone else is doing, rather than the focus of the conversation is, do Arsenal need to be starting to achieve things rather than being this endless work in progress? Yes, they're progressing. So if they don't win the league this year, I think he's under pressure to win something this year. And the expectation is, if you come second twice, then there's an ultimate thought process that the next step is obviously to win the league. You've bridged the gap. Man City have disappeared off the scene. Liverpool have assumed the position. Where are you? Why aren't you in that situation? So I think that it looks to me as if Arsenal are flatlining a little bit, are not moving forward in the way that one would have anticipated. I tipped Arsenal to win the league at the beginning of the season because
they're still the strongest candidates to go with Liverpool, I think.
Well, I think you're probably right. That's because what the opposition, I mean, we mustn't denounce Nottingham Forest at this moment in time because 40 points after 20 games. I know there's
Forest aren't winning.
No, they're not going to win the league, no. But I don't think anyone else is going to win the league. I think your lot are going to win the league. So I think whoever challenges them is just simply that, a challenger.
I think Arsenal's form the second half of last season shows they're capable of going on really good runs. The thing is with Arsenal, if they were to have a great second half of the season, let's say lost it by a point to Liverpool on the last day, and they got to the Champions League final and lost it to Real Madrid.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, that is real progression because you're so close. So it's not always about. I beat this drum a lot. It's not always about winning things. Yeah. But if they falter and they're 10 points behind Liverpool, go out in the quarters of the Champions League, don't win the League Cup, then there is going to be questions.
And that's fine. But the scenario that you portray is exactly right. If Arsenal were to lose the league in a very competitive league to a highly motivated and very significant Liverpool side that are playing the way they are at this moment in time by a point and get to a Champions League final, then anybody that says that that's not progression would be slightly mean-spirited and have a motivation other than honesty behind their objectives.
Quite a lot of people are telling us, look, Arteta didn't use it as an excuse to the ball. He just said that there was a difference because he was asked. He was asked that. But I agree.
But it sounds like an excuse. As soon as you start...
Think about how you're going to answer it, surely.
But the difference is what? That the people didn't take chances and...
No, a few of their shots went over the bar.
Well, that's the point. So he is citing the fact that the ball's made a difference. So that is moving towards, with due respect, an excuse culture.
It is, yeah.
Well, very disappointed, obviously. It's just half time, but with everything that we produced against a really good team, I must say, to see the scoreline as it is a very, very difficult one to take because I don't think it reflects at all what happened in that game.
Mikel Arteta after the game.
Arsenal never lost a game. Honestly, it's always an excuse, isn't it? It's unbelievable.
Light balls last night, apparently.
Newcastle with a better side last night.
But still, 23 shots, Andy, but just 3 on target, which will feed slightly into our conversation with comedian and Arsenal fan Jacob Hawley. Hi, Jacob.
Afternoon, gentlemen. Great show so far.
Thank you very much.
They could have scored. It's true. They could have had 3 goals easily. Arsenal. There's 3 great chances.
Yeah, I mean, it was a frustrating night, wasn't it? Really.
Yeah, it was. I think it's one of them. We created chances. We were up against a good team who are in a good moment of form, and I just think it's as simple as that. They've got good forwards in good form, and we haven't, and that wins them the game.
Yes, Bukayo Saka was a big miss. But Jacob, I was saying, 2 years ago, Arsenal, all right, they fell away when Saliba got injured, but they played some lovely football that season. They were so effective and so good to watch, fluid. This season and even last season, they've become much more stodgy. They're almost like Stoke, the way they play for set plays. It's quite an odd change, I think.
Yeah, gentrified Burnley is the way I think of it. North really, London. I wonder if it's a bit of PTSD with Arteta. I wonder if it's a bit, like as you say, we played good football that year. We also had some daft results. I remember with a couple of weeks to go, we were 3-0 down to Southampton. We threw away Leeds at West Ham. I do wonder if there was a bit of that with Arteta, where he stopped trusting having players like Zinchenko in midfield, and he started thinking, right, I need to buy big lumpy Mikel Marinos in the transfer windows. And it does feel different, but I can't get away from the fact that you take the best forward out of any team, they don't look as good. Martin Odegaard's had injuries this season. He had a kid a few weeks ago. He's playing like he's bringing up the kid on his own at the moment. And it's not to make excuses, but I do think you take any good team and you do things like that to their best players, the football doesn't look as good. And I thought last night we created chances. I thought there was that Martinelli chance where he's through on goal, hits the post, that goes in. It's a different game. And I think there's a lot of fans throwing out the baby with the bathwater at the moment. There's a lot of fans going, oh, well, Arteta's ruined the atmosphere in the stadium. It's like, he's the one who brought the atmosphere to the stadium. I remember what it was like 5 years ago. It was a lot worse than this.
I was going to say, Jake, it was a bit of a cliche, but the second leg, we've got a couple of Arsenal fans working with us, and they think it's gone. But it is all about the first goal in that game. If you score early, keep the crowd quiet, get on the front foot. But if they score, it's going to be very tough.
Listen, St James's Park has not been happy hunting for us, and I think, if I'm honest, I do think Eddie Howe's got Arteta's number a little bit. I think, as you say, Arteta over the last couple of seasons, he's really lent into this winning the duels and being physical. And if there's one team you can't do that with, it's Newcastle. Joe Linton plays like he's just come out of the WWE. Like he's the king of that sort of football. You want to try and wrestle with him, you're not going to win.
Do you think? I don't know if you think. It's interesting. I think that. I mean, the Newcastle fans will rail against this. It was just during the. I look at Joel Linton, and I think he gets away with murder. I mean, quite literally, possibly.
I think Newcastle do, mate. I think it was Luke Edwards in the Telegraph, where someone wrote this thing about how Newcastle are this brilliant team of wind-ups who've got the physical edge over everyone. It's like, well, you flip that around. How do people talk about Arsenal? I've seen Carragher comparing Arteta to Mourinho. I've seen everyone saying that we're too many dark arts. It's like, so why is the team from up north, who've fans from Gateshead, how come they're allowed to be big and physical and nasty, but the fancy boys from North London, they don't like it when we do it? Do you know what I mean? And I'm not old enough myself. I've got friends who remember Arsenal with George Graham. 1-0 to the Arsenal. That's who we were. Yeah. This whole thing that Arsenal have to play fancy, pretty football, we did that under Arsene Wenger. I'll tell you what, we had 10 years that were good when we had big players doing that football. Patrick Vieira, Robert Pires was 6'2". Yeah. As soon as Wenger did replace all of them with these little tiki-taka lads, we didn't win much. So I think we have to be a little bit careful what we wish for. And I do think there is a little bit of media bias in terms of how people talk about us when it comes to how physical we are, goals from corners, stuff like that. Listen, if you score a goal from a corner, a goal's a goal, right? And I spent enough years watching Arsene Wenger. It looked like he didn't bother coaching corners. We used to concede from corners. It felt like every week. No, we didn't win a header in most games under Wenger in the second half of his reign. So I do think people are leaning a bit too hard into this. Oh, Arteta just plays physical football. It's like, well, you know what? Like he plays with what he's got, and ultimately, I know there's a lot of criticism for Arteta, but he's wanted signings. He's wanted forwards. In the summer, we wanted Benjamin Sesko. We wanted Nico Williams. He didn't get it, right? Seasons before that, we wanted Isak before he went to Newcastle. We wanted Vlahovic from Juventus. And I don't think it's a coincidence that in his press conference last night, Arteta's saying, you see the difference between the two teams, it's having a top forward like Isak. Now, I don't know how Kai Havertz feels when he listens to those quotes, but I do know that the sporting director that we had for the last few windows, who didn't get Arteta the players he wants, he's not working at the moment. Yeah. And we're interviewing for that job role. So I do wonder if there's a little bit of that going on.
Well, no, you're not working because he's just picked up a fantastic new job with Forest at the end of the day.
I mean, they're talking about Thomas Rosicky, I see today. One of your old players coming back. He's doing the job in the Czech Republic at the moment.
Yeah, the other thing to say is that Newcastle and Forest are the teams on fire at the moment. And clearly they play no European football, and it makes a difference. It obviously makes a difference.
Does make a difference. I look at our team, and Arteta has said that it's a thin squad. I mean, I don't know about you boys. Even as a fan, it feels like there's a lot of games at the moment. Do you know what I mean? It's overwhelming the amount of football that's on. I read something that Arsenal played, 3 fixtures last January. We've got 9 this January. It's ramping up, and we've had a season where we do have injuries to players. And I'll be honest with you, it's one of them seasons, this one for Arsenal. It's just not our season. And you can analyse it, and you can look at whys and wherefores. Sometimes it just happens. I remember Liverpool a couple of seasons ago had a season where they dropped to 4th after going, toe for toe with City the season prior to that. So sometimes this happens. You get injuries, people fall off. It's not always going to be a linear thing where each season you just get better and better and better and eventually win a title. That doesn't happen to most teams. You're going to have a dip. And I think ultimately the measure of a manager like Arteta and a project like this one is how you manage that dip season and how you recover from it, and whether he learns from some of the things. Maybe he does look at this and go, maybe I have lent too hard into the corners and into this physical stuff and into the big lads who win headers. Maybe I do need someone else in midfield who can do what Ødegaard does, because at the moment I look at that midfield and it's Ødegaard or nothing, really, isn't it? If you're looking at someone to play a killer pass, who else is there at Arsenal that can do that apart from Ødegaard?
Yeah, good point. True. Sensible as ever, Jacob.
Very good, yeah.
It's the tail end of your tour, isn't it? You've still got some dates left of your tour at the start this year?
7 or 8 left, yeah, a lot of them in February. I know I sound delighted about it. Do you know what? I'll be honest with you, lads. This tour's been going on nearly a year now. I did all the big ones, did the Brightons and the Manchester, blah, blah, blah. I'll be honest, I'm mopping up. I'm going to Crawley. I'm going to Luton.
Well, if you're calling Birmingham mopping up the Glee Club, nice venue.
Oh, listen, I'm very excited about Birmingham. Don't get me wrong, very
Crawley
excited
and
about Birmingham.
Crawley. Then Leeds.
Perfect, isn't it?
Then you're in Leeds.
Then Leeds, lovely Leeds.
Salford.
Salford. Who could ask for more than Salford?
Crawley.
Well, listen, let's not lie to ourselves about Crawley. But if anyone fancies a bit of that, you can get tickets on my social media.
Yeah, fantastic. So go and check it out. Jacob Hawley, all your tickets available for the tail end of the tour. We'll catch up with you soon, Jacob. Thanks very much.
Cheers, fellas.
There we are. This Jacob Hawley, their comedian and Arsenal fan, who I think he's quite reasoned and makes a lot of sense, which is why we often turn to him. And it was just a comment from Charlie Eccleshare from The Athletic. He tweeted during the Tottenham game the other day. And this is not a pop at Newcastle. It's, if you like, it's a pop at the referees. He said, Newcastle generally seem to be refereed through the prism of they're big and they're tough and the opposition needs to man up. Dan Burn is the classic, he's big, English and seems like a good lad, so he can basically do what he wants. And he got a lot of heat for it from Newcastle fans, but Charlie basically said afterwards, look, it's a pop at the refereeing. But, you can almost hear Eddie Howe and Jason were saying, push the envelope. We see they push the envelope. He said he's not there to make friends. We see it with the time wasting. We see it with the way Nick Pope is when he's playing, taking 3/4 of an hour to take a goal kick. If you can get away with it, get away with it.
It's interesting,
gamesmanship.
Dan Burn, because earlier in the season he really was Newcastle's weakness. There were a couple of times last night where he's good. He does a lot of things very well, but he's got absolutely no pace at all. They didn't run at him enough. They didn't.
And they do control it. Even Willock did really well last night. And they do control the midfield.
Impressive performance. They're
Very
really
controlled.
well.
Very good.
They're much more likely to finish top 4 than any of the teams up there at the moment.
We're going to be talking about Alexander Isak a little bit later. I'm going to Sweden, going back to his roots to talk about whether they're surprised. He's had an incredible December into January, isn't he? He's been amazing. So we'll be chatting about that a little bit later on.
Lofted forward into the edge of the box, flicked on dangerously. Isak! 1-0. Smash and grab from Newcastle to a certain extent, just a route one ball forward. The first goal they'd ever scored against Arsenal in the League Cup, and it's a monumental one. The man that cannot stop scoring gets his 50th goal in black and white, one of real significance.
Yeah, another goal for Alexander Isak last night. He had a hand in the second one, of course. Raya parrying his shot away and Gordon finishing it off. So another great night for Newcastle, and good news for Sweden.
Very much
to have a player in such good form at the moment. We thought we would go back to Isak's roots to discover what they make of his current form at the moment and look at a little bit of his backstory. Olof Lund joins us, the editor-in-chief of Football Signalen over in Sweden. Hi, Olof.
Hi.
He is playing remarkably well at the moment, isn't he? I mean, it's been a huge turnaround, especially from sort of December onwards. It's just been unplayable.
Yeah, it's incredible scoring that many goals in the Premier League. I mean, he finished the last season really well, and he's done really well. Even though he had an injury this fall, he's done. It's exceptional. He must be one of the best number 9s in the world right now.
Sure. I mean, did you always feel that he was a special talent in his early days over in Sweden when he was playing there?
Definitely. I mean, he made his breakthrough in AIK, one of the big clubs in Sweden, and I mean, he made his debut as a 16-year-old, and he made a big impression in his first season he's born in 1999, and this was in 2016. He scored a lot of goals for AIK, and Borussia Dortmund came in with at the time the biggest transfer fee ever, bigger even than when Zlatan Ibrahimovic left Malmö for Ajax. So of course everyone has had high expectations. He had a tough time in Germany, but as soon as he left Borussia Dortmund, he made an impression both in the Netherlands for half a year, and then Spain, and now Newcastle.
What's really noticeable is how much his scoring rate's gone up. At Sociedad, where he was relatively successful, 33 and 105. But here at Newcastle, he's scoring more than 1 in 2, which is always a great sign for a striker. 44 goals from 70 appearances.
Yeah, it's impressive figures, and the feeling is that he's always had this skill, and he's fast and explosive in his running, and he can score from almost every position. But I think he's become a lot stronger and maybe a little bit more cynical. I mean, we all saw the push on Ødegaard, which created the space, and that's the things you have to use when you're a top forward playing against the best teams. You have to be a little bit on the edge.
And maybe a bit more robust, which Andy mentioned before. He had some injury issues. I think he missed sort of 3 months of the season when he first came in. He's that's helping, isn't it? He's on a run and he's keeping fit, which is making a difference.
Definitely, I think he's kind of built up his both stamina and his body. Of course, it's a big step up when he came from Real Sociedad. Different. I mean, playing in Spain is different in many ways, and then coming to Newcastle with a lot of games as it is in England, and tough defenders in more physical defenders, and I think. There was a time the first season he had groin problems both in the fall and in the spring, and maybe that was getting used to playing in England, and it's obvious that he's adjusted really well.
And it's hard to believe that Newcastle were wavering on the 60 million price tag, because it did seem a lot of money and a bit of a punt from Sociedad.
But more than double that now.
Exactly. I mean, it was really that injury to Callum Wilson that made them push the button on it, and I'm sure they're delighted they did.
Definitely, and I mean they have a really long contract. I think he has 3 more years left after when we come to this summer, which means that they're under no pressure to sell, even though if they would sell, they would really cash in. And of course, I think a lot of clubs, bigger clubs than Newcastle, are following him, and then if they reach the Champions League, I think that will make it more possible that he will stay, that he feels that the owners are taking steps with the club. They played 1 season in the Champions League, then they had kind of a reaction when they didn't reach Europe, and now they are making a new, trying to force themselves into Europe, because that's where he wants to play. And I mean, he's born in 99, and he will be 26 next fall. So of course he wants to, in his prime, play for big clubs, preferably winning something, and also play in Europe.
And it's good news for Swedish national team, isn't it? Going into World Cup qualifying. Not just him. Gyökeres, of course, is scoring a lot of goals.
A lot of goals.
Kulusevski has become a really important player. Has really trained on the last couple of years since he went to Spurs. Lucas Bergvall at Spurs is getting more game time than probably he would have done if it wasn't for the injuries. So, yeah, I mean, it's shaping up pretty well.
Yeah, especially the front trio with Kulusevski, Gyökeres. I mean, he scores for fun in Sporting, and also Isak, and they did well when they played together. Isak missed 2 games in the Nations League, but they won their group, so they're going up to the B division. We've had some tough years in Sweden. We missed both the World Cup in Qatar 2022 and missed the Euros 2024. Now they're trying to go to the 2026 World Cup, and I don't think Sweden has had a trio like that since it was in World Cup 2006. We had Henrik Larsson, Freddie Ljungberg, and Zlatan Ibrahimovic. These are players maybe not at their level, but almost very close to being in that level. So at least if we look at the offensive part of the Swedish team, it looks quite scary. So I hope they will take care of Switzerland and Slovenia in the World Cup qualifying.
Good stuff. Good to talk to you, Olof. Thanks very much. That's Olof Lundell, the editor-in-chief of Football Sonalen over in Sweden, and they're obviously delighted with Isak's form, as are the Newcastle fans. No, I mean, one thing was noticeable last night and against Spurs is that their kind of game management, even with losing a cog in Bruno, has been so important. You know, Willock stepped in, and they look so good in midfield. You know, they are really good at controlling a game.
Confidence. Yeah. You know, they weren't playing well at the start of the season. They weren't. You know, and they were getting a few results. Then they had a poor run, but then suddenly it was the League Cup game against Chelsea. They just lost to Chelsea in the league on the Sunday, and then on the Wednesday Chelsea made the fatal error of playing quite a weakened team against a strong Newcastle team, and from that,
because they needed a result, so he kind of stuck with
from that victory they've really grown and grown.
It must be lovely to know that you were the springboard for the turnaround.
Tremendous.
It's always a joy, that, isn't it?
It's always good.
It's a joy when that
Fair enough.